Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to Tell Us Not. Your favorite sports presenter, Henry Snotson, is here once again to bring you the latest and greatest news from Snot League fields. First, let's quickly recap the last match of round 2. When dwarves promise something, you know they'll keep their word, and this time was no exception. And what a match it was! Our viewers from the Chaos Wastelands have been waiting for something like this. Another derby of Chaos teams, and it was everything it should be. Bloody, with one player sacrificing his life for the glory of the ruinous powers. Let's hope this sacrifice won't be in vain, and that from now on, all Chaos team matches, much to the dismay of their opponents, will follow suit. The intensity, the brutality, the sheer chaos on the field. It's what the fans crave and what makes these matches unforgettable. Round 3 kicks off with a rather one-sided match between the Bilbali Ballers and We Are the Pirates. Joseph Moranian's team received a significant boost from the Equalization Fund, bringing Puggy BeconBreath back to the field. After his previous performance, I expected our pint-sized star with a big appetite to shine once again. But he didn't shine this time. He simply done his job and quickly disappeared from the stadium after our reporters managed to catch him for short interview. The match itself didn't feature many exciting moments. Both teams engaged in a very positional battle for every meter of the field. The Blackguard Corsairs held their ground, compared to their last 2 matches, and avoid confrontation. Although one elf still fell victim to Astalion's foul. Well, fouling elves has become something of a tradition. Astalia slowly pushed forward and managed to take the lead at the end of the half, 1-0. The second half didn't look any better for the fans gathered at the Astalion Stadium. The elves started preparing to equalize, but at that moment, a fatal mistake by the crippled captain of the Corsairs ruined their chances and allowed the Ballers to take control of the ball. It was as if a magic wand awakened the Astalion players from their slow lethargy, and they switched to full throttle. They quickly stripped the elven ball carrier of the ball and began a frantic battle to improve the score. When the things finally start to be interesting, the elf team's coach, aiming to limit further losses, waved the white flag and ordered his players to lie down on the field and wait for the match to end. A cunning strategy for an elf. Despite the audience's strong dissatisfaction with this turn of events, the Astalia team decided not to punish their opponents with fouls. The final score, 2-0 for Joseph Moranian's team, who maintained a perfect score after 3 rounds. As for the Pirates, their ship is starting to take on water at an alarming rate, and if they don't find a way to change course, well, we see how they handled the Arabians in 4th round. One of the teams that had racked up the most injuries in their first 2 matches was the Redwood Riders. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and this time, it was a brutal wake-up call from Sheikh Kafir and his AL Nayasar. The Desert Boys, accustomed to scorpions, weren't fazed by oversized spiders, and they even managed to rough one up. Do spiders' limbs grow back? No? Oh well, life goes on. The savage orcs accompanying the goblins also had serious trouble with the spinning dervishes, who placed the greenskins exactly where they wanted. The match was full of brutal plays, and many players didn't finish it on their own feet. Surprisingly, it was the orcs and goblins who suffered the most. In the final moments, dervishes pushed back the last remaining goblin obstacle, and Sheikh Kafir have clear run for a touchdown. This is another victory for the team from Arabia, significantly improving their position in the overall standings. Our stunning elves from FC Avalorna decided to present themselves perfectly in this round of matches. Their training camp was held at the famous Avalorn Spa. After a series of relaxing beauty treatments, they even took care of their nails. Well, then they faced the Chaos Halflings. The maniacs stormed onto the field with chainsaws, knives, and other murder tools. Before the referee could react, the first elf fell victim to their brutality, while the Avalorn coach was tearing the last hairs from his head, shouting at the referee, "Someone do something about that maniac with the chainsaw!" The referee remained unyielding. Good for you, elves! You may be pretty on the outside, but inside you're still rotten elves. And you know who is just as rotten as the elves? Hakflem Scuttlespike! This Skaven was hired by the halflings only to feign indisposition after a slight nudge from an elf, and spent the rest of the match on the bench counting his equalization fund money. The coach of the Princes of Doom grumbled about it, but his players did an excellent job in the first half, massacring the elves and showing the elven audience that this game also has blood, not just bowl. Haha, you should have seen their faces.
Priceless!
In the first half, the FC Avalorna players kept losing and regaining the ball only to underestimate the chainsaw-wielding Hakflem, costing them the ball and any chance of a touchdown. For the second half, the bruised and battered elves came out very sluggishly. One of the fans had won the opportunity to play with their team, and in this match, he was given the honorable task of keeping the Minotaur from getting to the more important players. The result was that the Bull Lord of Doom massacred Ronaldina, causing a niggling injury. And when the elf started screaming for a doctor, he simply remarked, "She's screaming terribly! Well, at best, I can only put her out of her misery." This instantly made the elf sit quietly on the bench, clutching her wound. The halfling's coach was delighted. They were in possession of the ball and had significantly thinned out the elves. But when he began shouting praises at his bull, it fell during an attempt to bring another elf down, leaving a huge opening for FC Avalorna, which they expertly exploited by snatching the ball and making a run for it. Thus, elves, with a heavily battered team, won 1-0 and collected more points. But their next match will be played with half of their team,
and I don't see rock stars complaining about it.
What a match it was! Tactical brilliance, stunning plot twists, clean play with no need for referee intervention. Wait, something odd is here. Oh, I was reading the wrong script. Heh, never mind. Clash between Kamikazan and Century Centaurs was a brutal showdown. The Chaotic Samurais hadn't had the best streak so far, so the four-legged Bestigors somewhat underestimated their opponent. Ooh, that was a great mistake. The most painful lesson was learned by their Minotaur, who was killed by a powerful blow from Skirts. After that, both teams decided to turn the game into a brawl near the sidelines, where eager fans can join in. And they do it gladly, massacring any player who even slightly stepped out of bounds. Both teams suffered heavy losses, seemingly ignoring the ball altogether. In the second half, anyone daring to act as the ball carrier was quickly dealt with by their opponents. The final score of this clash was a stunning 0-0 and multiple injuries and 2 deaths. Yet another Minotaur so beef is coming back to the menu. And the freshly hired sumo warrior from Kamikazan who surprisingly passed away after being stabbed multiple times with horns and kicked with hooves. Our league gravediger was more than pleased. I've been complaining that Chaos Team matches aren't very spectacular, and it seems they finally listened. No different was the third match between the Black Potatoes and the Electric Boogaloo Carnival. You'd think that dwarves, especially those linked to the powers of chaos, wouldn't be as picky as elves. But even they were bothered by the stinky, slime-covered Nurgle circus performers and often hesitated to make contact with them. The Nurgle followers, too busy watching their bomb-throwing jester to see if he'd pull another prank, underestimated the speed of these dwarves. Their ball carrier fell victim to a brutal attack. He quickly recovered and began an unplanned solo run with the ball, which could have ended in disaster. However, Nathaniel Catine, the last hope of the dwarves to stop the opponent, didn't account for the agility of Sir Smiles and received a powerful blow to his dwarven head from a pogo stick. The dwarves could only helplessly watch as the ball carrier set up a picnic under their end zone. Mr. Explodey wanted to help his teammates, but dropped his bomb at the last moment, causing an explosion that took out both the jester and the team captain, who had the misfortune of standing too close. The second half began with a minor controversy, as the match referee stepped on the tiny, nurgling Stinky without noticing. To avoid discussions with the outraged Electric Boogaloo Carnival players, he quickly blew his whistle to start the second half. Despite their strength advantage, the circus performers struggled to stop the dwarves, as these armored midgets felt quite comfortable even under single-die blocks. After injuring Mr. Smiles, the dwarves initiated a risky maneuver for them, a dodge! This time, they succeeded. The dwarves didn't waste any time setting up a picnic in the Nurgle end zone and managed to equalize. After the restart, the Boogaloo ringleader tried to quickly catch and pass the ball to a faster player, but tripped and fell just centimeters before reaching his target, robbing them of precious time to complete the player throw maneuver. To cap things off today, we had a thrilling match between the Witch Hunters and the Magical Fairies of Albion, with some modest support from Puggy BeconBreath. The match kicked off with a spectacular display of skill from Hans Holzfeller, who quickly brought down the Fen Beast. Unfortunately, Hans didn't consider the weight of this creature, and when it fell on him, poor Zealot was squashed into the ground. Nevertheless, he gave his team the chance to launch a quick attack on the disoriented Albions. However, the attack failed, and one of the hunters fell to the blows of a forest beast. The faithful followers of Sigmar did not relent, repeatedly attacking the ball-carrying Puggy. But Sir BeconBreath tirelessly dodged their attacks. In the second half, those magnetic abilities of the hunters to hold onto the ball reappeared. However, Puggy seemed to have figured out these acts of faith and performed his own little miracle, punishing the chainlinks for their failed handoff. During an attempt to stop Albion, Harry Halligan was killed. Well, maybe we'll remember him. Those zealots do come and go in droves. Unfortunately for the witch hunters, this was another defeat, ending 0-2. It will be interesting to see how they spin this in their reports to their superiors. Sadly, 2 remaining matches didn't take place due to scheduling conflicts between the coaches. And now for an announcement! Due to my vacation, the next episode will be in 3 weeks instead of the usual 2. Stay tuned for more thrilling action and unexpected twists from the Snot League. Until next time, this is Henry Snotson signing off. Bye!